Purpose of this video: to apply the same format I'm using to learn 2 new skills I'm a beginner at to an existing skill which I am not a beginner at. As the title of the video might imply, this one is going to be a little bit different. Today we're going to be talking about StarCraft II. StarCraft II is probably the video game I play with the most seriousness. As I've gone into in my first video, I feel playing a video game with any kind of real seriousness, in 99% of cases, is likely an inoptimal use of your time and your energy, and is likely something you're doing to satisfy a desire to be good at something, and that's something you should be trying to satisfy in a way which is more profitable to your long-term perspectives than playing video games. Nonetheless, I still enjoy video games, and I'm going to continue to play them, just acknowledging that whilst I'm doing that, I'm not being optimal and I could be using my time better. To use my time optimally is a goal that I would one day like to achieve, and I feel this series is a major step in that direction. But until then, for no personal gain and for no reason that will affect my life in the long term, I think it'd be pretty cool if I could get into Grandmasters, or even encounter one of the big name StarCraft professionals on the ladder, and also be able to last longer than 5 minutes against them. So that's going to be my long-term goal here. Get high enough on the ladder that I can encounter a StarCraft professional by the matchmaking system, placing me in a match against them. And we can be a bit more specific than that. Let's go with my favourite StarCraft professional, the man with the highest MMR in all of StarCraft II, the GOAT of StarCraft II, Cyril the Finisher. So in contrast to Piano, we're really going for a super long-term goal here. We're also going with a long-term goal with full knowledge that I may have moved on from playing video games at this kind of level with any kind of seriousness altogether before I actually finish the goal. But that's okay, because this long-term goal is purely for the sake of orientation, so it works there. So, StarCraft II. Imagine not many of you have played it, or at least haven't played it extensively, since it's not a super popular game, and since we're not starting from the beginning, we're going to be approaching this a little differently. In the ranking system for StarCraft II, I'm currently ranked at Diamond 3, which puts me in roughly the top 25% of StarCraft II players. So it means as we go through the series, we're going to be handling some slightly more advanced concepts. So I'm going to have to go over some of the basics here. StarCraft II is a real-time strategy, which means that unlike most video games where you control a single character, you control lots of characters, which are called units, and also buildings, which you also control. And these buildings are used usually to create additional units. So it's more similar to chess than Call of Duty, because you're controlling lots of things. But unlike chess, it's not turn-based, so whilst I'm controlling lots of units, like in chess, they're all moving and doing what they're trying to do at the same time, and so are my opponents. The purpose of the game is pretty simple. Destroy all of your opponent's buildings, and this will eject them straight out of the game. But of course, just as chess isn't quite as simple as, just checkmate their king, bro. StarCraft II is much more complex in how you get to the point where you can destroy all of their buildings. So there are generally 2 ways a game of StarCraft can go. And personally, I call these a micro game and a macro game. Most games, though, are macro games, and they can be described as the standard way of playing the game. So that's what we're going to be going over in this video. The most important unit in StarCraft II, in a macro game, is the builder units. And as you might imagine, these build buildings for you. But also, more importantly, they gather resources off of the map and they deliver them to your bases. And these are the resources which you are using to build your units and to build your buildings. There are many different strategies that you can use in StarCraft II, but every single strategy you use has to adhere to the same core principle, which is more shit counters less shit. So, as you might expect, the winner of a macro game is usually whoever manages to take and keep the most resource outcrops in the game's map by building a base on that outcrop and also building builder units to mine those resources and deliver it to the base. So when you're playing StarCraft II, what you're mainly trying to do is take as many bases as you can, whilst also simultaneously investing in the minimum amount of military units that you can to keep those bases defended. And whilst you're doing all this, you're also trying to keep an eye on your enemy to check if they've not built the minimum amount of military units, in which case you stop building your bases and start building military units to use them to end the game with. Of course, as you get further into the game, more complex ideas start getting introduced, like harassment tactics, army compositions that counter each other, micromanagement of units during fights, And all these can lead to slightly less shit, sometimes maybe beating slightly more shit. But at the core of the game, you're trying to be the guy with the most shit so you can beat the guy with the least shit. So let's watch an example of what a super basic, super standard game versus an AI might look like. Right, so I'm going into a match against an AI. I'm going to try and give an example of what a very standard game of StarCraft will look like. I've instructed the AI to, I just said good luck, have fun to an AI person. But yeah, I'll give you an example of what a very standard game of StarCraft might look like. So right now I've built drones and overlords. You actually have a unit cap, so you can't build units beyond the unit cap until you build more overlords, which are these units. Different races have different things that they build, but the Zerg race which I play has overlords. So right now I'm waiting for it to finish so I can make more drones. And all I'm worrying about right now is just making drones. And I've got 2 coming, which means my base will fill up at 16 very shortly. So I'm gonna want a new base quite soon. So we're not even a minute into the game, I'm already taking my new base. So just setting up camera locations. The Zerg race, which I play, every time they build something, it consumes one of the builder units, like it turns into the building. So I have to replace the drones with more drones after. I'm also going to take one of these gases, which is an alternate resource type. Most units, especially the advanced one, are going to take both minerals and gas resources in order to build. And this is actually going to be my first military building. And I'm building it now because by the time I'm finished building it, this will be finished and I will have fully saturated this gas and all my minerals on this base. And it just allows me to get a short amount of military units out, just a tiny little amount, so that if he does something super cheesy, I'm not completely caught off guard. Cheesy meaning like some kind of rush tactic, which I'll explain later in the video. So that's going to finish it roughly. I think that I actually made this a little bit later in this game, so it's not going to finish at the same time. So I'm going to wait for it to finish. I'm going to make 2 Zerglings, which are the most basic unit in the Zerg army. And I'm also going to make 2 Queens. Queens are military units, but they move very slowly. So we generally keep them at the base and use their ability. They've got like a spellcasting ability that just makes our base a little more effective. Okay, so we sent our overlord over here at the beginning of the game, and we did that to scout what he was doing. We're just checking that he was like expanding, and because we know he's expanding, we're not like scared he's going to do some kind of a next level tactic. We're also going to send a second one in to see what kind of buildings he's making behind that expansion. And this whole time we're just building overlords. I've supply blocked myself here, which is not a very good thing to do, but yeah. You generally want to avoid that. Yeah. Okay, so he's got a. Okay, I'm not going to go into like specific scouting information here, but yeah, I now have some kind of information on what he is trying to do. That's going to allow me to do stuff. Also, because he's expanded, I want to be 1 base ahead of him at all times, so I'm going to make myself another base. I'm also going to make myself more queens. I'm also going to get supply blocked. Yeah, good players generally don't get supply blocked as often as this. I generally don't either, but I'm trying to, like, I'm not really focusing as hard as I really should be. I've also not got my upgrades. You can also buy upgrades for units, and that makes them like a little bit better and it's part of the game. But yeah, right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a single Zergling to that base, and a single Zergling to that base, so that if he takes a 3rd base anywhere on the map, I'm going to know about it. I'm just going to make a whole load of lings there. And by lings I mean drones. These are lings, these are drones. Not sure why I said lings. Okay, he's actually got a lot of military there, so it's going to be difficult for me to do anything. So he may have taken that 3rd already. I need to like take that into account. I've also oversaturated this space, so we're going to send a couple drones over there. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to take this gas. We'll just got that. I think that was my circle, my lane. Okay, so we know he's not expanded there. We're also going to send one here to figure out when he takes his other thing. Right, we're going to fix the saturation in this space, go to full saturation in this space. Also, because of the position of my Overlord and my Lings, if he starts moving out onto the map, I'm going to know. And because it takes some time for him to arrive from here to my base, I don't have to build any units until he gets here, until I see him moving out, because if I start making units when I see him move out, I'll have enough units by the time he gets here. Also, we've saturated that very quickly. Okay, now's all. Okay, that's only to a certain point though. I think I want some kind of army, so I'm going to start building some additional military buildings. That's going to allow me to build like more, just better units. I'm also going to be upgrading this into a lair, which means I'm going to a new tech level. The tech level will be determining how you can will be determining what kind of upgrades you can get, what kind of units you can make, stuff like that. Just checking all my bases are looking good. We're floating a lot of resources, but that's fine for now. We're on 4 bases, which I know for a fact is more than his. He can at most can be on. Okay, we don't see where his army is anymore, so we're going to build. So we're going to build some military here. And we're also almost supply capped, so we're going to try and build overlords before we get supply capped, not like after we get supply capped. So we've got our bunch of units here. We will probably want Baneling speed, which is before we build Banelings, which is a different type of unit. This base is starting to mine out. You can see it can only house 12 now, so I want to send these units down here, and I want to get this fully saturated as well. And I should have just enough queens to he's sending out a worker unit to scout. He's just trying to find out what I'm up to. So I'm just going to send my units over there to deal with it. I feel like a kid playing Racing Game War, but nice. Keep doing that. We're also going to make some more tech buildings so that we can upgrade this a second time, and also we can make units which can shoot at air units, because these are melee units, they can't shoot something if they're in the air. So we're going to make some units that can shoot stuff in the air. And I think now that we have this many bases, this is when I'm very confident I have a bigger economy than him, so I'm going to now start thinking about trying to end the game. So now I'm going to start building units which can be used to end the game. So I'm turning a lot of these Lurgans into Banelings, which is what we built the Baneling nest for. I don't want to get too into the details though. But yeah, we've got the bases that we wanted to get, and now we're going to use them to try and end game. We're going to try and use our superior economy to end game.
Unacceptable command.
We're also going to have some Hydralisks to stand behind these guys. Also going to get supply blocked. I think that should bring us up to the max. The max amount of supply you can have in any given game is 200. So it doesn't matter how many overlords I build, I won't be able to get it over 200. I'm going to upgrade it one more time. And that'll make it at max level. I'll be at max tech level at that point. Just realised I never fully saturated these, so I'm going to fix that. And keep this. I'm not going to talk about what I'm doing right here, right now, but I'll go into that in a little bit later. Yeah, we want, I think, lots and lots of Lings right now, and also a couple of these guys, but not too many of them. These guys are the guys that shoot up, so we only have them here in case he's got like a couple air units. If he's gone full air, really, if I was good at the game, if I was like a sensible person. Oh, I just realised I don't have a Ling scouting here. I was supposed to have one there, so he might have built a base here and I wouldn't be aware. I'm just going to send this guy over to have a look.
Mineral field depleted.
It doesn't look like it's the case.
Metamorphosis complete.
Right, so I'm just going to get prepared for the late game, because if I try to end it and I can't, I don't want my bases to mine out and to have a bunch of workers which aren't doing anything. So it's very important that I am prepared for that. Okay, so we have an army which I think is going to be enough to kill his army, so we're going to start moving across the map now. My lings are a lot faster than all my other units, so I want to move them to a certain point on the map where they're not. Oh, we found the enemy. Okay. We're kind of fighting without our Hydralisks, which isn't a great idea. Yeah, as you can see, his army's tiny compared to ours, because we're on like 4 bases and he's on like 3, maybe 2, maybe 3. And continue moving our guys over here. Just make sure my base is looking okay while they're moving. You don't want to get like too distracted by any one base at any one time. Any one thing at any one time. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to bring these guys where we want them, and we're going to have these guys walk up this ramp and see what they find on the other side. Okay, so he's got a bunch of military units up here. I don't want to fight him unless I have to. It seems we killed his entire army, so he's probably defenseless right now. Yeah, as we suspected, he's on 3 bases, but he didn't have a full saturation on that base. He didn't have a... He didn't see... Like... We don't want to go up the ramp just yet. But he didn't even have all the workers he could have on that base in that base. Okay, stop going up the ramp, please. So right now we're just trying to make sure all our units are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And he's offering a surrender, which I'm not going to. I would usually accept, but I'm not going to accept for this time, just to show you what it looks like for a game to end. So we're gonna. So we're gonna try and finish this off. We're just gonna make a bunch more lings, add them to our army, and they'll be coming across the map soon enough. So we're gonna finish making this. He actually made way more Hydras than we needed. I'm not sure why I have this many. I'm gonna forget about his military and just destroy his production for now. Make military at once.
Mineral field depleted.
And hopefully when all of these are destroyed, it will announce me the winner of the game. You might have like a different building somewhere on the map that I just haven't noticed, but it should just declare me the winner of the game. Okay, so he's got something on the map that I'm not aware of. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send units all over the map to every location the base could be. And, oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. We found it. And we're just going to destroy it. There we go. Victory. Now, notably, that was against an AI. So they put up very little resistance compared to what a human player would put up. But that is what a standard game of SC2 might end up looking like. So we can use that as like the default and a template and a format to kind of like help us understand any other game of StarCraft II that we're looking at. So now I've gotten the basics out of the way, we're going to get into this a little bit deeper. For the format I'm using for this series to be properly overlaid over this skill, I'm going to need goals. And the goals for intermediate players are generally more difficult than the goals for a beginning player, due to the concept of diminishing returns. So I thought a good way of trying to find some goals is I'm going to sit down with you guys and we're going to play a game against a human player. So I'll play the game, I'll give some commentary while I'm playing it, though I will be trying to focus on the game also. But after the game, we're going to go onto the replay, go over the replay, and try to identify any mistakes that we made throughout the game. And based on those mistakes is how we're going to be creating our goals to go further into the future. Okay, we're against a Terran. Terrans generally build bases slower than Zerg do, but they've got a lot of units that allow them to bunker down and make those bases really, really hard to take to stop them. So generally, if they take a base, you're going to have a very, very hard time keeping them off of it. And generally, for that reason, Terrans will usually play in a way where they try and harass you to stop you from getting lots of bases out quickly. They want to slow you down as much as they can, because their bases are generally worth more than your bases. Like, if you're on equal bases with a Terran playing a Zerg, you're generally in a bad position. So we want to just wait until that spawns, get more of our dudes. Wait for the right timing to get this guy, and we're going to send this guy down. And so this game, I'm going to want to keep an eye out for harass, and I want to like make sure he's not slowing me down. And sometimes what Terrans will also do, they'll go for timings where they don't like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. I messed up my build a little bit there. Yeah, oh well. Okay, that's fine. We're going to be a little slower now, but that's not the end of the world. Okay, so we're gonna see what he's on. I think I just saw a SC, one of his builder units moving across the map, so I'm not sure why he's doing that. Oh, he's already got a marine out, which is interesting. Oh, the marine is probably to kill my scouting overlord. He knew I was going to send in a scouting overlord, so now he's just trying to kill it. And he'll probably be successful at doing that. So we're going to build our queens, just build our lings. We know he hasn't built a base yet, which is curious. So we need to like figure out what's going on with that. But I'm reasonably certain he's just building up here because Terrans have the ability to fly bases over. So we have a second scouting overlord, which is going to be like checking whether or not he's got a base. And as soon as we see a second base from him, we're gonna build our third base because we want to stay one base ahead of him. Yeah, there it is. It was actually a little late, which makes me a little worried because if he wasn't building a base during that time, he was doing something else with the resource, and I don't know what that is. But I think I'll be fine. I'm just going to take the third base, and we're going to send our lings out to check for any builds as fourth. I always think I'm lagging a little bit right now. Wait, no, I did that incorrectly. And also I'm going to put some stuff on the map to see when he's attacking me. I'm also playing very sloppily right now. I'm not sure why. I had a lot of unspent larvae there. It's probably because I'm trying to just verbalize every thought I have instead of just having the thought and moving on to my next one. Oops, supply blocked again. Okay, what do I want this game? I think I'm going to want to go... Oh, you know what I haven't gotten? Oh, I never added to the... Okay, what have we supplied here? Okay. Just going to get this fully saturated if I can. Then I'm going to rally all my bases here. Okay, so I know he's on 3 bases. I'm slightly scared about a timing coming in soon, so I'm going to be making some military units. Also, I'm going to be making some upgrades so my military units are a little bit better. And we should have the Vespene gas to make it soon. Maybe I should prioritize that. I don't know. We'll find out soon, based on whether or not I die. Okay, so having this base is great, but until we actually get more more builders on the base, we're not actually ahead of him in economy. We need to actually have some builders here. I'm getting supply blocks so much, it's not very good. Actually, wait, no, we don't want to do that. We need this as fast as possible. Our Vespene gas is coming in very slow right now because we've not taken a lot of it. We probably actually have enough lings now that we can be reasonably safe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my 4th ready so I can take it when I need to take it, and I'm going to start taking some more gas so I can start building some slightly more advanced units, because he might be about to come out with like a battle cruiser or something. In fact, I haven't seen that in a long time, but it's like an air unit which can teleport across the map, and I only have melee units right now, so if he did that I wouldn't have any answer for it. You guys, you can build that, friend. So I think I'm going to build a couple. Yeah, all our Vespene gas from now on is going to go on this. And I think we're going to take some more Vespene here. Also going to check he's not built a ninja base, which is something that some players do, where they just build a base in a really unusual position. Also, I think I want some proxy hatches, just so I can create more larvae, because all the larvae that I'm building my units from come for my hatches. So let's get more good creep going on. He's built a lot of these. All of these motion tower things. Okay, that's more Hydralisks than we're ever going to need. I didn't see what did that. Go on. Okay, there we go. At this point, I think he's looking to take his 3rd. So I think I want to stop. No, I'm not going to try and stop him from doing it yet, actually. I don't think I have quite the army for that. But I am going to get my 4th, because Terrans are actually very difficult. Actually, I'm going to harass it. I'm going to see what's going on. If something can be done, I'll do something. If nothing can be done, I'm not going to bother. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to kill the SCVs. Actually, no, nothing can be done there. Why am I wasting my units like that? Okay. That was actually a big mistake. I just let a lot of units die for no reason. But yeah, that base is fully established now. Also, because he has invisible units, we want some of these guys. I think I'm just going to try and max out now. I'm going to try and get the maximum amount of units I can use, and then I'm just going to chill there. Hopefully we can stop him from... We're going to actually have our units sit here, I think. And we're going to make a bunch more Banes. Where's our Hydralisks? Oh, nice. We got his whole army. He's got a very air-based army, which is really interesting. Yeah, we'll go for it. He's got a weird army, so I think I can afford to just run my Banes into his base and I'll be fine. So I'm just going to... I'm not sure what he's up to this game. This is actually really confusing me. He's got such a weird build going on. But yeah. We're going to leave some lings there to figure out what he's up to. We're going to just make sure our base isn't looking too silly. Then we're going to make sure upgrades are being done. And we're going to be building units to potentially go into a late game. Oh, you're kidding me. Okay. He's sent units into my base, which are like cloak units. But we can just easily deal with this, I think. Oh, God. So, I think I just win here, to be honest. He's actually gotten rid of all my ability to see invisible units, and I think he's got a couple of those going around, so I might not be as good as I think, but I think I have enough army going on here that I should be fine. And because he's building only air units, I'm going to build a lot of Hydras. Actually, I'm not gonna just sit here because he's got invisible units to attack my units. I'm not just gonna sit here and take it. I'm gonna send my guys back. He's got a lot of this, and I think I'll send these guys out as well. Okay, how many of these guys do I have? Where's the rest of this army? Oh, they all died but 3, which is super weird. I'm pretty sure I've just won the game though. It's just a matter of bringing it home. He doesn't seem to want to FF, which is always a awkward place to be in, but I'm pretty sure this game is over. Let's make more Hydras. Bring the Lings in to clear the Banes out. Wait, are we actually against a player? No, yeah, we are against. For a moment I thought it was against AI, because AI have a habit of just never quitting out, even when they lose. So I thought that like might be what we are up against. Oh, okay. That's cool, dude. I can just build a bunch of other stuff. Oh, he's got a base here. That's why he's not surrendering. Yeah, just resaturate that. I'm actually getting quite low on queens now. So let's just build a couple more. Okay, so yeah, he's he doesn't want to leave. Okay, that's fine. We can build our air units now. Okay. So we're gonna have a look at that. Replay. And we're looking for things that I could be doing better. I mean, we won this game, so it's hard to have too many things to say, and we won it in quite a decisive manner. He did a really weird game. I'm actually going to look at him more than I was looking at me, because I'm curious what he's actually doing. So he built his first depot there, which I think is actually a really bad thing to do, because it increases by an extra 5 seconds the amount of time you have to stay supply capped and the time before you can build your first SCV, because he remains supply capped, because usually they build it there rather than there, but then the SCV needs to go all the way from there to there, which is extra time at the remaining supply capped. Right now I'm just doing my standard opening. I do this every single game, more or less. Poland 16. Guys are on 17. Sorry, guys are on 18 and Paul on 17. And that's just my supply cap on my phone too. I'll be looking at my supply cap, and when it says the number which I'm looking for, I'll build the building that I know I need to build at that point. So he built a barracks. I don't think he ever used it. I think he built one marine from the barracks. He needs to build the barracks in order to build his other units, so in order to build the other buildings. He was also exceptionally late on his base, so I'm curious to see what he was doing instead of building his second. So he built a factory before his second, and I don't think he actually built anything from the factory. Oh, no, he did. He had siege tanks. So give them faster. So I'm looking, I'm not seeing the second, and I assume when I don't see a second that some kind of rush is coming in. So I'm waiting to build my third until I can send a guy in to see if he's building units. And I can see he's got some units, but nothing super scary. Got units and some tanks. And I think this tank is just here to defend his base, because tanks are very, very powerful units that you need a lot of units to beat, but they can't move. And if you catch them while they're in there, they can swap between states where they can move and where they can't move. And if you catch them unsieged when they're in their moving state, they die really easily and they're really bad units. But otherwise they're not, which is, and siege tanks are the reason it's hard to take care of in bases usually. So I think he was really scared I was going to come at him with early aggression, and I think he kind of overcompensated for that possibility, because he's got turrets, he's got Vikings, he's got siege tanks. Wow, he has a lot of turrets. That's a lot of money. And so he's kind of waiting for me to attack, but whilst he's doing that, I'm on 4 bases. I earn more shit, just counters less shit. So I just have so much more income than him. So eventually I'm just able to build an army that's so much bigger than his that it doesn't matter how much he's defended, I'm just going to steamroll him over. So he eventually does take his third, but I am already on full 3 base saturation and working on 4th base saturation at this point. I take a kind of a bad fight here. Actually, let's go back a little bit, because I do make a mistake here. Let's see, what am I up to? Okay. I do take a bad fight here. I send my Lings in on their own without backup from my Hydralisks. And I instantly see that he's got a bunch of cloaked units here. And he's got an orbital command. Now, Lings are very bad at taking orbital commands, because orbital commands do area of effect damage, and Lings are tightly packed units with low HP. So area of effect damage is very effective against Zerglings. And Zerglings can only do as much damage as Zerglings they can fit around it, because they're melee units. If they were ranged units, they could have one there, and then the one behind it, and the one behind it, and one behind it, and they could all be attacking. But with Zergling units, it's the one that's in contact with the thing that's attacking, and then the one behind it cannot attack. So I can only have 20 Zerglings at once doing DPS all the time and getting hit by something which does a lot of damage to my Zerglings. So Zerglings are not a good thing to fight orbital commands with. On top of that, he has air units, which are shooting my units. So this is the worst possible fight you can take with Zerglings. What I should have done is I should have let's get back to it. So I'm just trying to find this fight. I should have seen what was in and then instantly left. Instead, I stay for like an extra 10 seconds and I lose like my entire Zerg army because of it. I went from like I just lost a lot of Zergs. Maybe I could afford it if my Hydralisks were there, but realistically, it's a kind of risk that I don't need to take because I am one base ahead of him now, but significantly ahead of him in economy, and when you're ahead of him in economy, you don't need to take risks. So I could have just sat back, built more units, went in later, and instead I just gave him a whole bunch of my army for more or less no reason. So that's what I do. When I realise my mistake, I get out, I build a lot more units, and I get ready to head back in. I also, in order to hit stealth units, where are them? Over here. These guys can stealth. They can stealth for a short amount of time, dictated by their energy. In order to hit stealth units, you need to have special, like, invisibility seeing units. I think I've made some. I'm trying to see where they are. Here they are. And if for Zergs, there's a couple where you can do it. The way I chose this game is I turned some of my overlords, which are my supply cap units, into overseers. And they can't attack anything, but they just fly. So I just hover them. I give them a command to follow my Hydralisks, and then my Hydralisks should be able to just kill any of these. Now, his entire army now is 7 Banshees and 3 Vikings and some stuff to defend his base with. Now, Banshees are powerful units, but they aren't that powerful. They're not cost-effective units. They do a lot of damage, but if you bought 2 of something else which did less damage, which it would probably cost the same amount of money and it would do more damage. The 2 of them together. They're not a cost-effective unit. The value of the Banshee is that they can cloak, and you can use them. You can make like 3 or 4 of them, and you can like sneak them around the map and put him in the back of the enemy, which is what he does later with them. He can put it back in my supply lines, kill a couple of my drones and I need to build a unit that can shoot the air. So if I was just on Zerglings, I'd be in a bad situation. I'd lose a lot of my economy. And I also have to build units that can see up. That can see invisible units. So there's 2 different things that if I haven't already thought to do, I have to let him kill my economy whilst I'm waiting for those things to finish building. So that's generally why you would build a Banshee. You would not build a Banshee as a main fighting force to try and fight their army with, because they're not cost effective. And the only other thing he has Vikings, and Vikings don't even shoot down. These are anti-air units. And given the amount of turrets he has, I think he was expecting me to go to air units. And I don't have a single air unit. I only have depth units. So obviously, I find his army sooner or later. And I just take an incredibly favourable fight because I've got a lot more units than he does. Okay, this is actually also a little bit of a mistake. So we'll go back to that. So Banelings these are my Banelings. They're very powerful units. They blow up and they do area effect damage, but they sacrifice themselves in order to perform their attack. So they're one use. They can attack once, and you can turn Zerglings into them, and it costs a little bit of resources to do that. They're very good against ground units. They're very good against just killing things very quickly because they do a lot of damage very quickly, but they kill themselves in the process. But in order to morph them, it takes like 15 or 20 seconds or something. And what I do is I move my Zerglings here. I'm not expecting him to be here, which is probably bad because this is like the logical place for me to expand, either here or there. And so he's looking to expand over here. And I move here, and then I just instantly like transform 75% of my lings here into Banes. So that's now 20 seconds that I cannot be attacking him with my Zerglings. And that's not a very good thing. But fortunately, so if he had any kind of army whatsoever, he could just walk in, find my army at 25% strength, and just kill it all before they finish morphing. And I might as well have just lost the game entirely there. Fortunately, though, he's kind of built a silly meme army that he really should know better if he's at the CLO to build, and my Hydralisks just come in and clean him up. So he takes a fight against the whole, just with a lot of units that can't really do anything. And then I attack his base. Now, he can get all his SCVs to start fixing this, and Zerglings are still just very bad against. So I actually lose. It's actually an unfavorable fight for me, but I'm ahead enough that I can just risk doing it anyway. So I take this fight anyway, even though I know I'm going to lose a lot of my army, so I can put him back down on 2 bases whilst I'm still on 4 bases. And so what I do is I just take this unfavorable fight, and then I fall back, and I think I fall back. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I fall back, and I just rebuild my army. Because I'm so far ahead on the economy that I can just afford to do that. Also, he's floating a lot of resources. Okay, this guy isn't very good. That's what I'm deciding now. He's floating like 3,000 minerals. That's not a good thing. Generally want to spend all the resources you have. So not only is he on a lower economy than I am, but he's also not spending what little money he has. So he just has nothing. Like, my more shit is just going to completely roll over his less shit. Okay, so this is in his entire tactic. What his entire build is based around doing. And if I remember correctly, I actually respond very badly to this. So if it had been in a more competitive game, this might have caused me to lose it. Fortunately, I just have enough of an economical advantage that it doesn't matter. But yeah, so we'll see what happens here. He's got 4 of these guys, they stealth, so my queens can't shoot them. And even if my queen could shoot them while stealthed, and I also have like a handful of Hydralisks that could be shooting at them, even if they could, these could probably kill these 4 units. And these drones can't attack anyway. They could probably win that fight. My entire army's over here, so I might have had to just. So what I could have done is just walk my entire army back to try and kill them, but that would have given him a lot of time. He could have established that base and established that base in the time that it would have taken me to run back and kill those units. Instead, what I do is I just kind of let him. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build static defense. So I'm trying to build spore crawlers, which are like turrets. They're buildings that shoot air units. But he's already here, and he sees me doing it, so he just kills them. Realistically, what I should have done is the moment I saw the Banshees, I should have realised Banshees are only good at doing one thing, and this is that one thing, and the moment I saw them, I should have started building spore crawlers, building the turrets that shoot up. And the fact that I waited until he was already in my base to start building them is a big mistake, and it could have lost me the game if this was a more competitive game. So he actually completely shuts this base down. He kills pretty much all the drones here. I am now effectively on 3 bases. Also, what I should have been doing is when I saw him go in that base, I should have built spore crawlers in all my bases, because that's a flying unit. It's a fast flying unit, so he could have killed them all and then just went over here, then went over here, then went over here, and methodically just killed every unit in my base. What I end up doing is I morph these guys. I morph a couple more seeing units. I rally all my queens, which is bad because I want my queens at my bases because they make my bases more efficient by doing their injects. So, yeah, I made a big mistake by seeing Banshees and then not reacting to it until the Banshees were already in my base. So that was a big mistake on my part. And then this is a horrible fight. His like 2 tanks kills like 50% of my army, but it's just 2 tanks. So I just let him kill 50% of my army, lose the fight, but have so much of an advantage that I just go straight into his base and just kill him anyway. And then I'm not sure what happened. I think he did something. Oh, yeah, I know what happened. Because he's got all these turrets about. So, if you remember from before, I had my overseers. And I had some overseers that were following my Hydralisks so that I could see the Banshees in order to kill them. But, because he had so many turrets about, and overseers are my only flying unit, and turrets can only target flying units, I think they just got shot out of the air, and I didn't notice that they got shot out of the air. So when he comes here with 3 more banshees, he takes out, I think, my entire army here with just 3 banshees, because I don't have any overseers and I can't kill them. Or he takes out a significant portion of my army. And once I realise what's happening, I realise it too late. I realise it by the time I get out. I have 16 Hydralisks here, and by the end of this I have 3 Hydralisks. Luckily, again, I'm so far ahead that it doesn't matter. I can just pull back and rebuild and go back in with overseers this time, and which is what I do. So I can just kill him. But yeah, it's a mistake. If you know he's building banshees, you need to have overseers. Yeah, and whilst this is happening, he's re-establishing a base. So he actually goes from... Oh, that base is fully mined anyway. So he goes from 0 bases to 1 base through the fact that I didn't respond correctly to his banshees, which is potentially, maybe, in some dimension, might have gotten him back into the game. If I just went like, well, I've already won, so I won't even bother, and hadn't responded to his banshees in my base, and his banshees had gone to all my bases and killed all my drones, and he got this base, I have enough of a bank that I could rebuild my army, or at least a portion of my army, but he might have gotten back in the game here. Luckily, though, I get my overseers, I find his base, and yeah. I think he might have been lagging when he played, but like, lagging doesn't cause you to make the choice to build 7 banshees instead of literally anything else you could be building with those resources. And he thinks I was cheating because I had so much more army than he does. But no, my friend, I've just been on significantly more bases than you the entire game. That's why I have so many units. Alright, so if we do that. So let's write down... How's the script of the video? You can't be watching. But yeah, let's write down the what the takeaways from that game. What did I say? There were several big mistakes I made that game. First was morph my Banes in non-stupid locations. Second was don't forget to make... Like, you should make overseers every game anyway. Like, even if you haven't seen a Banshee, you should be doing that. Don't forget overseers when making Hydralisks. Actually, no, I'm not going to add when making Hydralisks. Don't forget overseers. One is, if I see air units, build turrets in mineral line immediately. And there's one more thing I want to check, because I think it was an issue this game. Yeah. 1 minute, 33 supply capped. That is a ridiculous amount of time to be spent supply capped, because when you're supply capped, you cannot make units. And there's no excuse to really be supply capped. So yeah, 1 minute 33 supply capped is not okay. Okay, so I think the supply cap is actually the biggest issue here, because as you noticed, all of these things didn't matter because I was ahead. And the reason I was ahead was because I was being more efficient than he was. And being supply capped makes me less efficient. So if none of this mattered because I was ahead, if he had been doing even better and been throwing even better roadblocks in my path, I still would have been... there's just a lot you can get away with by just being efficient and macroing properly and having more stuff than they do. So I actually think the most dire mistake I made this game was spending 1 minute 30 supply capped. Don't get supply capped. So these are the issues that we recognized with our play. Now we need to turn these into goals. I think the most important one is actually being supply. Don't be supply capped more than 30 seconds a game. And build turrets every time air units are spotted. Okay, I don't want to make too many because I don't want to swamp myself. But there we go. Don't be supply capped more than 30 seconds a game, and build turrets every time air units are spotted. So we have my 2 goals. I'll be back in 3 weeks to see how I've gotten on with them. For next week, we'll be returning to our drawing. We'll be catching up on how I've done with my goals, and if we've accomplished any, no spoilers, we'll be setting new goals for the future. By the way, if you've enjoyed hearing me talk about something that I actually know an intermediate amount about, as opposed to something that I don't really know much about, let me know, and I'll throw up a couple more game analyses on this channel in between other videos. Also check out my streams. On Tuesdays I play StarCraft and streaming from 12 to 3. I do other stuff on different days, but on Tuesday I'm doing StarCraft. Come watch my stream.